All right. We are live.
All right.
Just a minute, Graham. Give me just a minute for him to switch me back to.
All right.
Sorry. Good morning. Brian, can you let me know if you've switched back to?
Yeah, it's okay. We're live now.
Thank you. All right, Graham.
All right. So third time's a charm. All right. Good morning, everybody. This is Graham Sisson. I'm the chairperson of the Special Education Advisory Panel. I want to welcome everybody to today's virtual meeting. We are and Ashley has given us a quick overview of the virtual meeting guidance for panel attendees. Thank you, Ashley. I'm going to do a roll call of the members. If you'll just indicate by saying aye or raising your hand or let me know that you hear. I think Lisa Balaz is not going to be here today. Trinicia Brown, Cameron Carden, Rebecca Carroll, all right, thank you, Rebecca. Allie Cunningham, she's here, thank you. Valencia Curry, looks like Cameron Carden's here too. She raised her hand, good. Leanna Feely, Jason Fisher, Tasha Harrison Betts.
I'm here.
All right, thank you, Tasha. Shan Quayle Horton. All right, thank you, Shan Quayle. Evandra Jackson. Jane.
I'm here.
Thank you, Evandra. Jane Lamb. Holly Knott. Thank you, Holly. Jean Marzullo. Thank you, Jean. Karen Mayo. Karen McElby. Ashley McElroy. Tiffany Moore. Jessica Pelt. Thank you, Jessica. Hank Poor. Kathy Poor. Lisa Powell. Thank you, Lisa. LaDonna Rudolph. Kate Simmons. Thank you, Kate. I'm here, of course. Shanna Smith. Katie Stewart. Thank you. Richard Templeton. All right, thank you, Richard. Shanika Weatherly. All right, I think that's everybody. Did I miss anyone?
We did have a few log in as you were reading, but those will be captured in the chat and the recording. So I think we'll be fine, Graham, to be able to catch up on the attendance for those.
Great, great.
Graham, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Yeah, muted. All right. I think Ashley muted me. I'm there. Okay, now I'm unmuted. All right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes that as mailed out or as emailed out for the April 23rd, 2024 meeting? Looks like Lisa Powell is motioning and seconded by Kate Simmons. Do we have any discussion or any corrections to the minutes? All right. If none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as sent out, state aye or raise your hand. All right. Do we have any opposition or abstention from that motion? All right. It looks like the motion carries unanimously. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is the overview of the advisory panel purpose and duties. We always do this very quickly to make sure that we're all on the same page. But the purpose of the advisory panel is described in the provisions of the law, and it's based to advise the state education agency or SEA on issues related to special education and to promote communication and cooperation among individuals involved with children and youth with disabilities. The duties of the advisory panel, one is to advise the SEA or state education agency of unmet needs within the state in the education of children and youth with disabilities. Also, it is to comment publicly on any rules or regulations proposed by the state regarding the education of children with disabilities. Another duty is to advise the SEA in developing evaluations and reporting on data to the Secretary under Section 618. And still, three more duties. One is to advise the SEA in developing corrective action plans to address findings identified in federal monitoring reports. Two more to go. Advise the SEA in developing and implementing policies relating to the coordination of services for children with disabilities. And the final, waiver of non-supplant requirement. The state must consult with the advisory panel regarding provisions of free, appropriate education. All right, that's all of those duties. The next thing on the agenda is the Special Education Services Temporary Special Education Certification presentation. And that's from our education specialist, Elizabeth Green. So I'll turn it over to Elizabeth.
Give me 1 second. I lost my notes.
Sure.
We're going to give Elizabeth just a minute to get her PowerPoint pulled up and prepare.
All right, now we got it. All right. My name is Elizabeth Breen, and I am one of the education specialists here at the State Department of Education and Special Ed Services who helped develop some of the professional learning that goes for our temporary special education certificate teachers and then managing those courses moving forward. If you don't know much about the temporary special education certificate, I'd like to review just a few of the requirements. So for candidates to be eligible to pursue special education certification on the TSEC approach, they must have earned either a bachelor's degree with a minimum GPA of 2.5 or a master's degree with a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. They must enroll in and complete 5 approved courses from a single participating Alabama college or university, and also enroll in and complete 6 professional learning sessions that are provided here by the State Department of Education Special Education Services section. And all of this is done while working as a full-time special education teacher, serving students in grades 6 through 12 for each period of the school day. To support them in this role, they must participate in mentoring with an experienced certified special educator, and they have to complete 4 practical field experiences. They must earn a passing score on the Praxis assessment for special education to be eligible for their professional certificate. And if teachers complete all of the above requirements in less than 3 years, they must be recommended by their superintendent for their professional certificate, assuring their proficiency as a special education teacher. TSEC teachers must complete their 5 college courses at one of the participating Alabama universities or colleges that are listed here. They're located throughout the state. And because individual schools may organize their courses a little differently, they must complete all 5 at the same institution to be sure that all the required content is covered. So the professional learning sessions, they are intended to support the instruction that takes place through the colleges and universities. So TSEC teachers, they must complete a total of 6 professional learning sessions across the 3 years in the approach, meaning they must complete at least 2 sessions each year. The first session is the role of a special education teacher, which includes person-first skills and also ALSDE special education resources that will be beneficial to them in their first year of teaching and also beyond that. The second session is planning and the learning environment, which covers IEP development, accommodations, related services, and functional behavioral assessments. Session 3 gives an overview of the 13 disability areas and in-depth information on the most common characteristics of learners with disabilities. Session 4 is by far the longest because it covers specially designed instruction in reading, language, math, and transition. Session 5 covers the pre-referral and referral processes. And then Session 6 reviews the foundations of special education and professional responsibilities. And while teachers must complete 2 sessions each year, many are eager to learn as much as possible. And about 100 have completed all 6 sessions already. Over 9,300 hours of professional learning have occurred through these sessions as of last week. This number changes quickly because they are completing the courses every day as we approach the September 15th end of course deadline. The professional learning sessions were developed by education specialists working here at the State Department in Special Education Services. Much of the professional learning content comes from the IRIS Center. And if you're unfamiliar with the IRIS Center is supported by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Special Education Programs, or OSEP, and it's located at Vanderbilt University. Their resources are developed in collaboration with nationally recognized researchers and education experts. And the Iris Center resources are beneficial to this TSEC approach, this program, because in addition to being well-researched, they include engaging and interactive content. They increase awareness of foundational knowledge and skills, and they are aligned with professional standards. The IRIS modules are based on proven theory of adult learning, and they include things like text and graphics, but also interactive activities, interviews with experts and teachers in the field, and video demonstrations. They cover a variety of topics, but they are primarily geared toward those working with students with disabilities. Some of the modules that we use cover content such as behavior or reading, math, assessment, accommodations, transition, differentiated instruction, evidence-based practices, and IEP development. Teachers must take pre and post tests for each module and for all of their assignments and their modules within our professional learning, including the IRIS modules. They must be completed with 80% or higher performance. Our work with the IRIS Center has been recently featured on their website as an impact story and by U.S. Deputy Secretary of Education Cindy Martin at the 2024 OSEP Leadership Conference held last week in Washington, D.C. as a model for other states.
We're going to go ahead and switch interpreters.
Hey, if everyone will give me just a second, I'm going to make that change, and then I will let you know when we're starting the meeting back.
And there are a couple of comments just from people who've had experience with the IRIS Center and saying how great it is.
Okay, I've switched over to the next interpreter, and we're ready to start back. Thank you.
So really the last thing I want to say is I would encourage anyone with an interest in or concerns about the preparation, motivation, and quality of services that are provided by special education teachers in the TSEC program is to get to know a little bit more about their backgrounds and their goals. We have over 300 teachers who have begun careers in special education through this approach, and each of them has a why they chose special education. They come from all walks of life for sure. But it might surprise some to know that many are coming from other areas of education, such as secondary general education teachers, elementary education teachers, reading specialists, career tech instructors, school counselors, sign language interpreters, speech language therapists, and paraprofessionals. We also have former social workers, licensed mental health counselors, law enforcement officers, and behavior therapists. Many are parents of children with disabilities themselves who want to make a difference in the lives of our students. So you can scan the QR code or use the link to learn just a little bit about these teachers. And then lastly, I just want to thank you for your interest in the TSEC program. My contact information is listed here, but also obviously there's more information about this approach on our website as well.
Thank you, Elizabeth. This is Ashley Perry. I'm the state liaison for the Special Education Advisory Panel, and we have received a lot of questions, curiosities about the TSEC program. And I just wanted Elizabeth to share today because it's had such a positive impact on our field. So thank you, Elizabeth, for doing that for us. Okay, Graham.
All right, thank you. That was an excellent presentation. I certainly learned a lot from that. Next thing on the agenda is the special education director's report from Dr. Delee Chambers. Delee, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hold on, let me move this so I can see you. Okay, so thank you. I want to thank all of you for your service to the Special Ed Advisory Panel meeting and thank you for being in attendance today. I just have, and let me take a breath and slow down for the benefit of the interpreter. Sorry, I was being so fast in the way I was talking. So I have two quick updates I want to give you. One is, let me get this and put it in the chat. It is the link to a 2024. Oh, that's the wrong, hold on. That would be the wrong link there. Let me do this one. And I had it all copied, ready to go. There it is. Okay, so there is a link to the Alabama Chiefs Strategic Plan update for 2024. And let's see here. Ashley, can I share for a second?
There you go, Delia, I'm ready.
Okay. All right, so let's see. All right, so is that showing now? Let's see.
Yes.
I can't see it, but is your screen showing the Alabama Chiefs for 2024?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is, let me move it over here. Can you still, oh, did that make it where you can't see it? Or you can still
Yes.
see it?
No, can't see it.
Okay, sorry.
It is
I'll
a
try
beautiful, but it is a beautiful scene we see. But there you go. It's back. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I moved it off of, so sorry. I was trying to put it straight ahead so I could see it while I was talking, but I'll just have to look to the left. Okay, so this is where, the department under Dr. Mackey's leadership developed a strategic plan. And over the past several years, we've been working to achieve the goals in the strategic plan. And so this is just an update on some of the initiatives that have occurred over the years. And specifically some things that have happened over the past year for the 2024 update. So I would encourage you to open the document yourself, scroll through it and look and see. There's information about initiatives and the number of children who participated in different things, such as the summer learning experiences and other type updates in this particular document. So here's about the reading camp and academic growth that occurred as a result of reading camps, math camps, and other information about achievements that have occurred for our children in Alabama. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, let's switch to did that switch the screen or do I need to switch it?
It switched to the IDA Part B determinations.
Yes, it did. Okay, cool. So, as you may remember, if you were on the panel last year, then I was able to excitedly announce that Alabama's information that was submitted, our compliance information and our results information for our children with disabilities and for our state's implementation of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, we were able to meet requirements last year. Well, we were also able to meet requirements this year. And so an interesting thing about meeting requirements this year is that, so again, if you were in the presentation last year, then you know that one of the pieces, or you may or may not remember that one of the pieces for the state determination is NAEP scores and how well our children with disability did on the National Assessment of Educational Progress. And so the NAEP is only given every 2 years. And so with the NAEP being given every 2 years, I was under the impression, I said to myself, well, since we're using the same data as last year, we met requirements last year, then, we have a high likelihood of meeting requirements again. And so we actually did meet requirements again, but let me show you here where the 4 designations that the federal government uses is, the first one is meets the requirements and purposes of the IDA. The second one is needs assistance in implementing. The third one is needs intervention in implementing, and then needs substantial intervention in implementing. So and I want to give credit to a website that actually took the results of state determinations and did a nice little summary. The advocacyinstitute.org, they did a summary of this year's results. They did a summary of the last 10 years. They developed a chart of the last 10 years. The last 10 years, by looking at the last 10 years for Alabama and for other states, I was able to see that in 2016 and 2017, Alabama was in meets requirements. But then for 5 years, between 2018 and 2022, we were in needs assistance. As I said, 2023, we went back into meets requirements. I was under the assumption, well, you know, since we were meets requirements for 2013, we have a great chance of meeting requirements for 2014 because of the fact that they used the NAEP scores 2 years in a row. In studying the information related to all the states and territories that OSEP is responsible for, I was able to see that Alabama was among other states that were meets requirements for 2013, but we were the only state that met requirements in 2013 and also met it in 2014, except for states that had a long history of meeting requirements, right? So states that had 10 or 15 years, a history of 10 or 15 years of meeting requirements, they also met requirements in 2023 and 2024. We were among some states in 2023 that if they met requirements in 2023, but not the year before, they didn't meet requirements if they met requirements in 2023, but not the year before that, then for this year, they didn't meet requirements again. And so my theory that, you know, states who met requirements in 2023 had a high likelihood and increased chance of also meeting requirements for this current year was kind of blown when I looked at the stats for all the other states. Because like I said, there are states that met requirements last year and this year, but those were states who had a long-standing results of meeting requirements. So we're very pleased that we are among the states that were able to meet requirements this year, states and territories actually, because there are 10 territories that are under the monitoring and oversight of OSEP. But I feel like I know we should celebrate that. And we should celebrate the great things that are going on in the schools related to compliance of the paperwork and related to the outcomes, with the understanding that we still have, a ways to go. And there are still things that we should work on and things that we are and will work on, but we can stop and celebrate the fact that we were in meets requirements this year again. So, and that concludes my part. I think, I can't tell if I'm still sharing or not. I was trying to unshare, but that concludes my.
You're still sharing,
report.
yeah.
That concludes my report. If you want, I don't see an option to, stop share. There it is. Sorry about that. Okay. So, I thank you for, the support that you give, because the support that you give for helping us set the targets for the SPP APR indicators is what, part of what's measured on the state determination. And so just want you to know that your work with the group meetings that you have, the work sessions for the work sessions that you have, where you talk about the indicators, you talk about the state targets for the indicators. I just want to let you know how valuable that work is and how much we appreciate what you do to help support that.
All right, well, that's Dr.
Graham,
Chambers.
I'm sorry, Graham, we're going to go ahead and switch interpreters
Okay.
real quick. Thank you, Graham.
Okay, if y'all give me just a minute to make that change, I'll let you know when we start the meeting back. Okay, we're ready. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chambers, for that great information. It's really, I'm pleased to see that Alabama's meet the standard, and that's good work. We appreciate all the work that y'all are doing. And so the next thing on the agenda, it looks like we have a break. Ashley, do we want to take a break or just keep going?
What I can do is, so for the panel and then the public that are watching us today, we have several public comments that were submitted for this meeting that I will need to read aloud, and most of them are significantly long. So what I can do is let me read a few and then we'll take a break in between, because I believe the interpreters would need to switch anyways, and that'll kind of, meet both of those needs that we have. So if that's okay with everyone, I'll start reading, then I'll stop and let everyone know that we're going to take our break at that point and how long we're going to take our break and when we'll come back.
All right, that sounds great.
This is Ashley Perry. I'm the state liaison for the Special Education Advisory Panel. When we host our meetings 100% virtual, the public submit their comments, any public comments, to us in writing. That is an option. Public comments can be sent in writing for any of our meetings for us to read aloud. But when we do our meetings virtual, that is, we report out all of those from the panel side of the meeting. As a reminder to the panel, as well as any of the public, when the public shares a public comment or I read a public comment that's been submitted to me, there are information that we do not state, or we also ask the public not to state when they're sharing their public comment. That would be the name of a district, the name of a school, the name of any school staff, the name of children, just to maintain the confidentiality as well as the integrity of the public comment that's being made. So in this case, when I'm reading these aloud, if any of those things are mentioned, you will hear me say redacted. I just won't state the name of that district or the name of that person that's in the public comment. Okay, I will get started with the first one. Dear Alabama State Department of Education, our daughter was adopted from India at age 4 with language deprivation and profoundly deaf. She has been learning American Sign Language and uses this as her primary mode of communication. We are too far from AIDB, Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind, so she is mainstreamed in the public school system. I do not have a background in education. Therefore, I began our educational journey by trusting the district and state with my daughter's education. I have spent the last several months heavily researching Alabama Code of Administration for Special Education, federal requirements for special education, optimizing outcomes for students who are deaf or hard of hearing, published by the National Association of State Directors of Special Education, and a long list of other additional resources. I have slowly learned 2 things. I have been unable to find any local state standards for best practices of educational guidelines for students who are deaf or with language deprivation. Very few people in the district, state, country have the knowledge and or training to educate students who are deaf with language deprivation. I am aware that this isn't a common scenario, but I also know that we aren't the only parents that feel completely helpless when it comes to our child's education. Language deprived, profoundly deaf children in Alabama deserve FAPE, which is free appropriate public education. Instead, they are being thrown into the ocean of public education to sink or swim. Unfortunately, the majority are sinking. My 7-year-old daughter has been in Alabama's education system with an IEP for 2.5 years. I have learned that language deprivation is the single most difficult hurdle that my daughter must overcome to be successful in her education. The most frightening part of this fact is that I have learned this on my own. No one acknowledged her language deprivation until I requested it be written into her IEP. I have zero experience in education, and I find it disheartening that after 2 years, I am the one left to identify the missing pieces to the puzzle. I have sat through 12 IEP meetings. The common theme to these meetings was the same. No one really knew what to do with her. Most of the teachers and administrators in the room had little to no experience with this scenario. One teacher did speak up and voiced her concerns that were trying to invent the wheel. She recognized that there was a problem. However, no one knew the answer on how to fix this. The bottom line is this: there are no published guidelines or research-based data in our state to help an IEP team develop a successful plan. It took me over 2 years to realize that my daughter's IEP was mostly experimental. This is when I decided to begin gathering data and research of my own. This led me to Dr. Kristen DePiri, a professor in Boston who has dedicated her life's work to the education of language deprived, profoundly deaf children, exactly like my daughter. She developed Bedrock Literacy as a tool to make sure these kids are successful. She sent us through 8 hours of training on this subject. I feel confident that the success of our children would tremendously increase if her techniques were implemented in the classroom. I also came across the National Association of State Directors, NASD, published Educational Service Guidelines, optimizing outcomes for students who are deaf or hard of hearing. This document provides an outline for goals, services, and educational planning. When I presented this document to the IEP team, I had a difficult time getting it implemented because it wasn't guidelines specifically adapted by Alabama's education system. I'm sorry, that should have been adopted. Currently, there is a gaping hole in the education system with a brilliant subset of children, and it must be fixed. Our kids deserve more than what is being offered. My daughter has been in 3 different school systems, and I am connected to other parents across the state. The problem is bigger than the local school district, and it remains the same across the board: lack of data and research-based guidelines. This is why I am writing to you today. I do not feel like anyone has malicious intent for these children. All of my daughter's teachers had genuinely wanted her to succeed. I believe this is a result of the education system as a whole. I am not in education, therefore I do not know the root of the problem. Is it underfunding? Is it lack of research? Is it lack of resources? I do not know the answer, but I do know that our children are suffering as a result. It feels like the education system has become more about all the boxes being checked from an administrative side and less about the success of our children's future. Thank you for your time and consideration. That is the end of the first letter, or sorry, first public comment. Beverly, if you're okay, I'll do one more shorter one and then we'll take a break. Are you good? Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. This is the next, I'm starting the next public comment. I have taught special education for 17 years. I have listened to complaints by teachers, parents, students, and I have voiced complaints myself. Inclusion students come in two levels. You have those students who are able to excel with additional direction by giving additional ways to achieve the same end goal. You have students who are self-contained, but are able to go out to some classes for exposure to other students. However, you have those students who are not high enough to retain the information given, but are not low enough to be considered self-contained. They end up being discipline problems. Because even with additional help in various ways to get the same means, they struggle. Not only do they struggle, but the teacher and the parent struggle as well. The special education teacher is expected to get them there by whatever means possible. For those students, it is a miserable affair to go to school. They detest it and would rather spend their time in ISS, which is in-school suspension, or at-home suspension than to be required to complete work they do not understand. Many students do grow, obtain new levels, and surprise everyone around them, including themselves. Then there are those who are angry, defeated, and frustrated to the core with no means out and just hope to scrape by. We would love to see the state do something to help these students obtain information at a level they are able to comprehend and complete, thus leading them to feel successful and confident in themselves. That is the end of the second public comment. We will stop here and take a break. It's currently around 9:47. We'll start back at 10 o'clock and I will continue with the public comments at that time.
And then Sydney will be up for that at 10 o'clock. It will be Sydney coming back up.
Okay, I'll unspotlight you and then spotlight her. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Okay, we are getting ready to start back at the meeting. Give me just a minute to set our interpreter to spotlight. We're ready to start the meeting. I will continue to read the public comments. We have 3 remaining. This is Ashley Perry. I'm the state liaison for the Special Education Advisory Panel. Thank you for considering the issues facing special education in the state of Alabama. As a parent of a student with significant special needs and as a special educator in Alabama, I have multiple concerns with the state of special education in Alabama. I have compiled a list of my concerns. Number 1, the special education shortage. Our district currently has 14 open special education positions and 4 paraprofessional positions opened. This is not uncommon in my school system, as I have monitored for the open positions for years. There has rarely been a time that special education unit has not been opened in my district. There are usually multiple units open on any given day. The students have been in school for 2 days as of today, and too many units have gone unfilled. Number 2, too many emergency certified special education teachers. Although I understand the need to emergency certify people to teach special education, the number of emergency certified people is alarming. In some schools, there are multiple emergency certified teachers, which means they have a giant learning curve affecting the whole school. The veteran special education teachers will need to assist with learning and quite complicated job of serving students, meeting with families, writing IEPs, and ensuring eligibility status are maintained, just to name a few of the tasks. Number 3, loss of learning for students identified with needs. My daughter, who is in a self-contained unit, ended up having the aide cover her class the last quarter of her school 2 years ago. The unit saw 2 teachers leave. The unit was left with no state certified teacher for 9 weeks. Therefore, her IEP stating that she would receive services from a special educator was out of compliance. Last year, our special education department was tasked with covering an unfilled unit for an entire quarter until the special education teacher was finally hired. We had to serve additional students as well as ensure their IEP timelines remained in compliance. It was exhausting. Based on the iReady scores, those extra students made very little growth, while those students who consistently received their services from their special education teachers made much more progress. Number 4, short-staffed and high-needs classrooms. In self-contained classrooms, many times, aides are required. There are too many classrooms that are short-staffed. The students suffer when these units are not fully staffed. Number 5, behavior in some units. Some of the special education units are very dangerous with violent student behavior. The behavior is a manifestation of their disability. However, these units are even harder to fill due to the fact that no teacher is willingly going to teach in such circumstances. Number 6, special education teachers not included in the TEAMS Act. Special education is the number 1 area of need in Alabama and throughout the country. Although special education teachers receive a stipend, it is not nearly enough. In my opinion, certified special education teachers deserve a higher stipend due to the increasing demands put on them to assist emergency certified teachers. Self-contained teachers deserve a higher stipend for lack of planning time in dealing with significant behaviors. Number 7, pay too low for aides in self-contained units. Aides that are in self-contained settings deserve a minimum of $25 per hour or a large stipend. The aides are changing soiled diapers, often working extra hours, and getting physically harmed in self-contained units. Although I have named several concerns, this list is nowhere near complete. As an advocate for public education, I am very scared for our profession. We are on a trajectory for a disaster. We need to ensure quality education for all students with supported, highly qualified special education teachers leading our classrooms. Thank you for considering my voice as a parent and a special education teacher. That is the end of the 3rd public comment. This is the 4th public comment. Dear respected members of the Alabama State Department of Education, it is concerning that teachers of special education students are receiving a $1,200 stipend when teachers of math and science are making significantly more, $10,000 to $20,000 through the TEAMS program. Retention and recruitment of special education teachers is going to continue to plummet. After 20 years in special education, my colleagues recommended that I pursue TEAMS before retirement, but I do love special education. It is a tough choice that I want to bring to your attention. That is the end of the 4th public comment. And here is the last public comment. To the members of the Special Education Advisory Panel, Alabama State Department of Education, this is public commentary on education issues for students with disabilities. Dear members of the SEAP panel, thank you for the opportunity to bring to light a critical issue that presents challenges across the United States and educational systems globally. A subset of deaf and hard of hearing children represents a minority within a minority, the language deprived child. This population often graduates high school with literacy abilities far below the norms, and their underdeveloped language skills significantly hinder their prospects for sustainable and viable employment. The term language deprived may sound alarming, but as an educator with over 40 years of experience working with these students, I can attest to the profound impact this deprivation has on a child, the family, and society. My career has been dedicated to advocating for their educational needs. To understand language deprivation, imagine being parents of a newborn, only to be subjected to a law that prohibits communication with your child despite providing all other care. This scenario mirrors the experience of many deaf and hard of hearing children whose well-meaning parents, guided by medical advice, are instructed to avoid sign language, erroneously believing it would impede spoken language development. This issue is compounded by the fact that most deaf or hard of hearing children are born to hearing parents, 90 to 95%, who naturally use spoken language to communicate. at birth, some children with deafness may benefit from a cochlear implant, and many parents opt for this surgery. However, success with cochlear implants is contingent upon numerous factors, including rigorous parental involvement, intensive speech auditory training, and consistent device maintenance. These demands often prove overwhelming, and only a percentage of children experience success, demonstrating that this is not a straightforward medical fix. The primary issue lies in the medical advice given to parents, which typically discourages the use of sign language, claiming it interferes with spoken language acquisition. Doctors, not being linguists, do not recognize the long-term negative effects this advice can have if spoken language access fails. Ironically, hearing parents are encouraged to teach their babies baby sign language, a practice with widespread commercial success, contradicting the notion that sign language hinders spoken language development. Additionally, bilingual parents understand the benefits of raising children with multiple languages. Hearing babies who learn sign language eventually gravitate towards the predominant spoken language environment. In contrast, deaf and hard of hearing children without access to this auditory stream face significant disadvantages that worsen over time. Parents warned against using sign language mistakenly believe their child is acquiring language through spoken interaction. Frustration mounts as the child grows older and communication difficulties persist within the family. The American educational system inherits a problem for which it is neither prepared nor equipped. Language-deprived children enter school alingual, lacking proficiency in both English and American Sign Language. Regardless, they are expected to follow the same educational trajectory as hearing children, whose curricula assume intact language abilities and full auditory access. Hearing children leverage their native language, first-order skill, to develop literacy, second-order skill, manipulating sounds for reading, a process that requires time but is feasible for them. For language-deprived students, this expectation is insurmountable. They cannot fit into existing educational frameworks because they lack an intact language and cannot benefit from phonetic English coding. Teachers are often untrained in addressing these needs, find themselves at a loss. Given their small population, language-deprived students are overlooked and expected to adapt, resulting in significant educational gaps. Teacher preparation programs rarely include training for educating language-deprived students. Teachers are instructed to follow a mandated curricula and make necessary adaptations, a directive that is misguided and exacerbates the student's challenges. This misalignment results in the opposite of our educational goals: ineffective progress monitoring, student resignation to pretending comprehension, and over-reliance on classroom interpreters, leading to mere survival rather than education. Research indicates that the brain does not differentiate between language modalities, spoken or signed, as long as the input is accessible and comprehensible. For profoundly deaf students, American Sign Language, ASL, provides the visual access needed for successful language acquisition. We must do better for these students. The first crucial step is educating state-level officials on the specific linguistic and educational needs of language-deprived students. Prioritizing the development of first-order skills, language development, and utilizing visual strategies over sound-based ones for literacy will truly address the student's individual needs. It is time to amend the law to protect and support the rights of these children. That is the end of the last public comment. Does anyone on the panel have any questions or anything to share regarding the public comments?
Before we do that, Ashley, can we switch interpreters, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me just, yeah, everyone give me just a minute to make this change. Okay, we are ready to continue.
All right, this is Graham Sisson. Does anybody have any comments on the public comments? I thought it was really interesting myself about the people who know language skills, lack of ability to communicate. Is there anything of the special education advisory panel, anything that we could suggest to alleviate some of those deficits? Does either Ashley or do Lee have any responses to those public comments?
Cameron Carden has raised her hand, and I'll let her
Yes.
speak.
Sure.
This is Cameron Carden. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Regarding the comment related to the NASD optimizing outcomes guidelines, just as a reminder, a group of educators worked across 4 sessions last academic year in conjunction or I guess related to concerns brought forth regarding outcomes for children who are deaf or hard of hearing. Through that work, the state has made a significant effort in ensuring that school systems receive the optimizing outcomes NASD guidelines. They're available on the website for the State Department of Education. I know that Kim Baker at AIDB and Maria Katz at Alabama Hands and Voices, we've been working really diligently to make sure that we are providing electronic copies of that document because it's free and available online to state special education directors. And that group is continuing to meet, a focus group is continuing to meet to ensure that evidence-based practices are disseminated across the state, and the state has been really supportive of that work. And so while I absolutely understand the challenges with that families are experiencing whose children have limited language, and because not a lot of people, as that parent said, specialize in that area in the state or the country, how frustrating that must be. The other I think suggestion that I would give is, and this may have already been done, but AIDB has an outreach arm of their services, and that might also be a very, very helpful resource in case they may be able to connect that local education agency with someone who really specializes in working with a child who has a history of language deprivation. So I appreciate those resources that were shared as well by the person that wrote that, and really grateful for the steps that the state has taken, because I think that that's not been a unique story for many families of children who are deaf or hard of hearing here in Alabama or across the country. And I am grateful that we're moving in a more positive direction as a state to optimize outcomes for those children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cameron, for sharing that insight. And I'm so glad that you were part of that focus group and able to have that experience so that we are able to educate the panel as well as the public members in attendance to know the work that the unmet needs that were addressed by that focus group and some of the outcomes that came from that work. So thank you so much for sharing. Okay, Graham.
All right. Does anyone else has any comments about the public comments or responses?
Ashley, you took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you, Cameron, for your comments related to the work of the task force, and thank you for the information you shared, and we appreciated the opportunity to convene that task force. We appreciate you spotlighting the work of the group and the information you conveyed about where the state is attempting to move and disseminate that information and everything. So thank you for that. And I wanted to thank the people who took the time to send in the comments and to provide the insight on their specific, the things that are of interest to them and that are weighing on them and everything. We're always happy to hear from the public on their thoughts on things. So thank you so much for the people who, felt strongly enough about something to stop and take time to send that in.
All right. I share Delee's comments too. All right. If there's no more comments or suggestions, then we'll move on to the next part of the of our agenda, which are our committee reports. We have the membership committee, and I don't know how, if you want me to do this, because I think Lisa Ballas is not available today. So
yeah, and I can jump in, Graham, and do that real quick. Yeah. Sure. So Lisa chairs our membership committee, and it's so nice. This time last year we were still doing a lot of recruitment, and they were having a lot of meetings because we needed to add so many members to the panel. You probably noticed today when Graham read the roll how long it took, because we have such a hearty panel now of members, and I'm very thankful for that. So the membership committee has not needed to do as much work as they were doing this time last year. We are in need of, we're always open to and in need of parents on the panel, parents of children with disabilities on the panel, or an individual with a disability on the panel. So continue to have those individuals that reach out to me. I can guide them to the application process. And so that they kind of understand how like the function of the panel and how the application process works. We do have one applicant today. I shared her information with you for the panel. I shared her information with you in the emails. If you had time to review that, it is Danielle Sylvester. She is applying as a parent stakeholder. And so Graham will need to take a vote on, you are voting, what you're voting is to yes to recommending her to appointment on the panel. And as you know, that recommendation goes to Dr. Mackey for his final approval.
All right, I'm going to ask for a motion to recommend for appointment by Dr. Mackey, Danielle Sylvester. Do I have a second on that? Or do I have a motion on? I'm sorry, a second. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments before I call the vote? All right, if there is none, I'm calling the vote. All those in favor state aye or raise your hand or put yes in the comment section. All right, do we have any opposition or abstention? Looks like it passes very, very well. So congratulations to our newest member when she'll start, if she's appointed by Dr. Mackey. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
I
all.
will reach out to her today to let her know that she was approved to be recommended to the panel, and so she will be aware of that after our meeting today. The only other thing I have, Graham, for the membership committee is we do have some new members that you voted in as a panel. You voted at our last meeting. Today we have joining us Jason Fisher. He is a parent. Dr. Richard Templeton, he is a special education coordinator, and Holly Knott. She is with Alabama Department of Rehabilitative Services with early intervention. And so those are our three newest members that were voted in and appointed from our last meeting. Okay, Graham?
All right. Next thing on the agenda is for the committee is the bylaws, and our chair is Karen Mayo. Karen, can you give us a report for your committee?
I don't know. I don't think Karen is here today.
Okay, so
She's with us. If you want to just read that.
yeah, sure. All right,
Yeah.
so basically as you recall, the bylaws were updated in the summer of 2023. There doesn't appear to be a need for revision since then. If the bylaws committee members or any members of the panel would like to review or have reviewed the bylaws, if you would let Karen Mayo know by August 30th if there's identified need for revision or if you have requests. So basically right now, it doesn't look like our bylaws need revisions, but if anybody has any ideas for revisions or comments, please let Ashley Perry know, and she'll get with Karen Mayo on it. So, all right. So the next thing we have is the stakeholder and public engagement committee. And I don't know if is Katie Stewart here to give that report?
Well, she is, but she is a brand new chair as of like
Okay, sure.
since our last meeting.
All right.
Good morning. I am here, but we will have to meet before I can give a report, but we should be able to do
Right.
that in the next meeting.
Yeah, but so Katie Stewart is from AEA. She's also one of our newer members. And she works with AEA, and she has volunteered to chair this committee. And I'm so thankful because, as you know, panel members, this committee has not had a chair in a long time. So I'm really appreciative of Katie's willingness to serve. I believe and feel strongly that her AEA experience and expertise will be an asset to a committee that focuses on that stakeholder and public engagement. I'll meet with her to discuss the roles and responsibilities. And then what we'll do for you guys that are on the committee is plan a meeting to begin the work of the group. And so we'll do that soon.
Well,
And
that sounds great. Katie, thank you for volunteering. That's a very important committee and bringing new lifeblood into that committee. We look forward to a future report.
Thank you. We will certainly do our best.
Thank you. The next committee is the student achievement and data. The chair is Cameron Carden. Cameron, I know you're here today. Do you have anything to report?
we haven't really met. There's going to be some required meetings coming up with the data committee here, Cameron. And then Dr. Carden and I talked yesterday about possibly doing some monthly meetings just to begin to educate the committee on our different indicators, how our data are collected, where we get that data, what does that data represent? And so Dr. Carden and I kind of came up with that plan yesterday. So Cameron, we'll reach out to you and kind of get that in place as far as meeting with just you and then to begin to hold those meetings with the committee.
All right, that sounds good. Thank y'all. The next thing on the agenda is old business. Right now, we do not have any old business listed. However, do any panel members have old business that they would like to discuss? All right, looks like there's no old business. Then we will move. The next thing on the agenda is new business. And we do have at least one item, the annual report, and Ashley Perry will give us information on that.
So for all of you that have been on the panel, as you know, last year, I wrote basically the annual report. And what that report represents is the work of the SEAP for basically August 1st of the previous year through July 31st of our current year. And so that's the report that it really highlights just the work that we've done, our membership representation, what were the topics we discussed, how many public comments did we receive, what did the director share with the panel. Basically, that's a breakdown of what's in the report. So I have completed that report for August 1st of 2023 through July 31st of 2024. And it's currently in the review and revise stage. Once I have it approved internally with my administrator as well as Dr. Chambers, then it will come to the panel. It is not an official document when it comes to you. It is coming to you for review and feedback as well. And I will do that very soon, because once it is, you all let me know that you agree with what's in there, or you see something that I may have forgotten to include, or you have questions. Once we've got it in a stage where it's fully approved internally here and then fully approved by the panel, you voted to approve it, then it will go to Dr. Mackey. So that will be the next steps for the annual report. So I will be in touch with you all soon via email, because I don't want to wait till November. I want to try to get this done sooner than later. So I won't wait till our November meeting. I will, communicate with you about the annual report through email.
All right. Well, thank you. We look forward to getting that information. Thank you for your work on that. Next thing on the agenda, unless anybody has any questions for Ashley on the annual report.
We're going to go ahead and switch interpreters real quick.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Everyone, if you will give me just a minute to make that change. Okay, we are ready to continue with the meeting.
All right. The next thing on the agenda is the panel member stakeholder news, and we have two little items there. One is the first biennial state transition conference, which is March 3rd through 5th in 2025 in Auburn, Alabama. Please mark your calendars. You may want to attend that. And the next thing we have is the assistive technology updates. Our advisory panel member, our very own Ashley McElroy, will present. So I'll turn it over to Ashley Perry and to Ashley McElroy.
Thank you. Hey, Ashley, is it possible for me to share my screen?
Yes, I was just getting ready to ask you if you needed to do that. So give me just a second to make that change. Okay, Ashley, you have the floor. You just need to share from the button at the bottom.
Okay. I always like slides because I think it helps for visual learners. My computer's just running a little slow, it seems.
And on my end, I can see your slide, the accessing potential through assistive technology. So it is up, Ashley.
Thank you. It wasn't showing me. Okay, so I'm Ashley McElroy. I am not only an advisory panel member, but I am the director of Accessing Potential Through Assistive Technology, which is the assistive technology program under Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services. We are federally funded through the Assistive Technology Act. So most of our activities that we provide are guided by the requirements of that law. And but we do look to do a lot of collaborations, and we've had significant collaborations with ALSDE, the Special Education Services, that I wanted to let everyone know about, so that you know that we're working really hard. Both programs are working really hard to try to increase access to assistive technology, as well as um, provide training to local school systems so that the educators can better provide those assistive technology services to students with disabilities and assistive technology needs. It is not changing. Okay, there we go. So, a couple of the collaborations that have happened most recently. We did have enhanced assistive technology presence at the Alabama Education Technology Conference that was in Mobile. No, was it in Mobile? I think it might not have been in Mobile this year, but that is a conference for educators to attend. And in previous years, there hasn't been as much of an assistive technology presence, and special education services has been working diligently to make sure that assistive technology was included in the agenda and that that training was available for educators to receive. And so they collaborated with us as well as the ABRS Rehab Engineering and Assistive Technology Program to include an entire pre-conference centered around assistive technology. And they have really great attendance during that pre-conference. So educators got to learn more about providing assistive technology evaluations, as well as what resources are available in our state to support the implementation of assistive technology. There were also several sessions provided during the actual conference schedule. And at the end, our our team members here in this photo, we have several team members that were invited along with Sheila with Special Education Services and other assistive technology providers in the school systems to do a panel to answer questions related to implementing assistive technology. So that was a really exciting opportunity because we feel like we're finally making some headway in making sure that assistive technology is considered as an option for students with disabilities and building that resource. Both of our programs have also been participating in what is called an EdPAL cohort. And that is coordinated by the AT3 Center. which is the Technical Assistance Center for all the AT Act programs across the nation. So a couple of our team members, we have Dr. Elizabeth Stewart here and Jessica McKay, who is our assistive technology specialist, as well as Sheila Bowling from Special Education Services, have been participating in that cohort this past year to learn more about ways that we can collaborate together as an assistive technology program and special education services. And everybody has been learning a lot about how other states are doing it and how every state can improve in that collaboration. So that's been significant, and we're really grateful that everyone is putting forth the effort and time to participate in that. We also have a really exciting upcoming collaboration that we've been working on for a while. We should soon be able to start expanding our lending library here at APT-AT, and also be able in the next year to hopefully start providing more technical assistance to school systems. And that will provide access to assistive technology that the school systems can borrow to do evaluations or provide temporary accommodations for students. And we're just really hoping that through that collaboration, we'll be able to make sure that students have the assistive technology that they need and that school systems have the support to be able to provide those services. And then I also wanted to tell you about this fantastic collaboration. There have been some assistive technology training modules put together. They are in the final stages, I believe, that they wrapped up all the filming and editing in the last month. And that was a collaboration between APT-AT, United Ability, and ALSDE. That this was funded through a grant, the Innovative Initiatives Grant through ALSDE. And these training modules will be available to educators to learn more about providing assistive technology evaluations, implementing technology, and being able to access resources that can help support the implementation of assistive technology. So these are some really awesome modules. It was really cool to be a part of that. And many experts in the field of assistive technology were invited to be a part of that and put together some fantastic trainings for educators to be able to learn more about assistive technology. So we'll continue working with ALSDE to make sure that those are available, hopefully in the near future. And then finally, our second year of AT Alabama is coming up October 1st and 2nd. Last year, this was a very strong collaboration with Special Education Services to provide an assistive technology conference for people to learn more about assistive technology. And so we're in year 2 now. We're very excited about it. If you need more information about it, you can visit United Ability's website. And we hope to see everyone there. We'll have over 30 sessions about assistive technology, and we'll also have vendors who will be demonstrating assistive technology that's available. So that is all for now. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity.
Thank you, Ashley. And we do have a request in the chat for someone would like a copy of your slides if you're willing to share those.
I can send it. Is it okay if I send it to you, Ashley, and then?
Yeah, I was gonna yeah, if you're willing to share, then if you'll send it to me, I can just send it to the entire panel. Because that's great information, and I love that, it allows our stakeholders to take this information back to their stakeholder groups throughout the state. So thank you for sharing.
Definitely. I'll put in some contact information as well, so you all know how, if you have any more questions, you know how to contact me.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. McElroy, that was really good information. She's doing an excellent job she's definitely brought, I think, APT to the next level, continues to improve the program, and her work is very meaningful, and her staff, I've only got high kudos for you. Thank you. All right. Next thing on the agenda, additional comments, questions from the panel members. Anybody have anything else they'd like to add for the good of the order? So,
There is, yeah, I think there's something. I just can't see the chat. I saw it pop up
it
though.
said, is there any opportunity? Sorry, it's from Kate Simmons. She says, there any opportunity for stipend support students? Whoops. It keeps moving around on me. Hold on a second. Chat. Let's see. Is there any opportunity for stipends to support students as they work through classes to be a special education teacher? Similarly to what we did years ago, could we bring those opportunities back? So who can answer that question? Ashley Perry.
I'm not sure.
I
Oh,
can
go
address
ahead,
that.
Delaney. Yeah.
I can address that. So right now, the only opportunity we have right now is that we're providing a $600 participant fee per module for the temporary special education certificate teachers paid through their district, paid through the district they're working for, and that's $600 per module to for a total of up to 3,600 based on the number of modules that they complete. And we are open to discussions about other options, other opportunities. I know that there are, I've heard from some other states that are doing stipend type things to help get teachers certified. The work that would be involved is figuring out like how to manage a program like that, how to ensure that teachers or future teachers who receive the benefit of the funding actually stay in state to provide teaching service. And so, yeah, Kate, if you're wanting to like help recommend a committee, come together to discuss opportunities, then yeah, I see that you say, is that comment from you saying you'd be happy to, yep. So yeah, just circle back up with us and let's talk. Like I said, the stumbling block before was if people access the funds, get their tuition paid for, take advantage of the stipends, and then don't actually serve as a teacher or don't stay in the state of Alabama, then how does the university or how does the state recoup the money that was paid? So there were just some logistical things that would have to be addressed or worked through. So any information that you know of from other programs that have been successful would definitely help move the conversation along.
Ashley, this is Beverly, the interpreter. If we could make a switch, please.
Yes. If y'all give me just a second to make that switch and we'll continue the meeting.
Go ahead.
All right. Are there any other comments?
Graham, give me just a minute. I want to address something else for Katie, if that's who offered to chair that or form, work with us to form that group. We also have 2 members of Institutes of Higher Education on our panel. We are required to have members or a member on our panel from an Institute of Higher Ed. So I think that would also be a good collaborative partner for that discussion. We have 2 actually on our panel right now. Okay, Graham, sorry.
No, that's all right. Is there anything else? Because we're about getting close to being able to adjourn here. So just want to make sure we don't leave anybody out today. Well, the next thing before we adjourn, I want to mention that we have the next meeting. Put this on your calendar, mark your calendar, November 14th, 2024, and we're meeting in person at the Bell Center in Birmingham, Alabama, 9 a.m. to noon. So please mark your calendars. I've already got it on my calendar. I don't know if I've ever been to the Bell Center. I maybe have, but we'll get more information out closer to the meeting.
Yeah, I'll send directions and logistics eventually.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got. Anybody have anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right. I move that we adjourn. And if anybody's opposed to that, then you can stay on the Zoom if you want to. I'm just kidding. If there's no opposition, we will adjourn. I appreciate everybody being involved today. I appreciate all the hard work by Ashley Perry and Dr. DeLee Chambers too. And I thank all of our panel members for attending today. I think we had a really good meeting, a lot of good information, and the public comments were very meaningful this time. I'm glad that Ashley was read all those out to us. So, all right, well, that's it. That's all we have, folks. Thank you again. We'll see you in November, if not before. Hope everybody has a good rest of the week, and be careful out there, and appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Goodbye, everybody.